Is your business as profitable as it needs to be, as profitable as it can be? If the answer to either of those is no, then you want to pay attention and take notes on this episode of Business Builders, because we're going to break down how we help take a client from about to go out of business, nearly bankrupt, to more than 100x their profit in 90 days. What were the specific strategies? What were the things we implemented? And what can you take away from this episode in order to implement into your business to start creating dramatic results? We're going to break that down for you here. So we're glad you're here with us. I got the team here. Tim, who is our head of all things finance. He is the brain, the freak in the spreadsheets, as we like to call him. And then we got Kirk, who is the maestro behind all people and also the master of all things puns. And we like to say he's all about puntification. If you're talking to him for any amount of time, you will get a pun. And if you don't, then he's having a really bad day. And I've yet to see that happen. So we're going to break this down. I want to walk you through kind of the scenario of where our client was at. So this client, the Wymans, amazing clients, they own a plumbing business. When we first engaged with them, this was in August of 2024, they were in a spot where they were nearly going out of business. Had gotten some really bad advice from consultants and business coaches that told them, here's your numbers, here's what you need to hit every month, and here's a strategy. Yeah, you can go and make this investment. And like business owners, they trusted people who were experts. Unfortunately, that proved not to be the case, and they were stuck in a difficult spot. And you may be in that spot. You may be in a spot where you're not generating enough profit every month. You don't have enough revenue every month. And the conversation is really going to focus on profit, because you can have revenue, but revenue without profit leads to nothing. It's just an inflated number and does not grow your business. You need profit in your business so that you have the capital to reinvest into growth. And there's different types of capital in your business. Today we're talking about profit, cash in the bank that you can reinvest to grow your business. This is so critically important. You've got a family to take care of. You've got employees and their families that they need to take care of, and you're helping facilitate that through the growth of your business. You have customers and clients who rely on you for the service or products you provide, and you need to be able to deliver on that. So we're going to walk you through the principles of how this gets done and what you can do immediately. So their scenario, at the time they engaged with us, they were having extremely low profit months. They were just about a $3 million business, doing over just under 300,000 a month, and profiting at the very lowest negative. They were having to put money into the business at the very best, somewhere around $4,000 or $5,000. That's not sustainable. So we took a look at the business and we identified, through the process that we use, we do an audit and we implement 8 key frameworks. We look at finance and accounting, we look at operations, we look at marketing and sales, we look at people and staffing, and we identified that there were some key changes that need to be made. And I'm going to have the team walk through what they saw in the business, and then we're going to reverse engineer what we changed and then the impact of that, so that you get the full picture. And we'll start off with Tim, because your financials tell the real story of your business. Data doesn't lie, people do, and as business owners we can lie to ourselves. But when you look at the numbers and it's not just looking at your financial numbers, it's understanding how to look at them to interpret what the story is. How healthy is your business actually? Where is it struggling, and what needs to happen? When we consult with the business, the first thing we do is look at the financials to get the real story, and that signals us to then look in other areas of the business. But I'm going to kick it over to Tim to walk through what was the assessment, Tim did the triage, what was the crisis, and what did we immediately attack?
So for this particular client, the immediate risk was the limited cash position. Cash in your business gives you options. It gives you options to either invest in the business or it buys you time. With this particular client, Adrian mentioned that they were running negative profit on occasion. We were going into the slow season when we started with them, and so they have a very cyclical business where in say 9 months of the year they're really busy, and in 3 months out of the year they're really slow. And we were going into the tail end of their busy season, and we weren't hitting the numbers they were even hitting last year. And then we were also going into what was going to be a fairly poor quarter just because of their cyclical nature. So when we took a look at their cash position and the expected probability that they were going to not be profitable for a number of months, we had to ask the question, what does the business need to look like to feed itself or live off of what it's producing in not only profit, but cash generation in order to have no change in our cash position month over month so we can survive. And at some point in your business, you need to go through a consolidation period. What does my business need to look like to just survive, not grow, not lose value, survive? And so in this particular circumstance, we identified that we could cut out some costs, whether it be payroll costs or marketing costs. Again, we looked through every single dollar we're spending. Let's validate its existence. Why are we spending it? And through this exercise, we identified that the fastest way to improve the business's performance was to go through what we call a Jonah journey. And again, Kirk can kind of walk through that. But it's really evaluating, again, payroll was the quickest thing we could change. So we had immediate impact. From there, once we knew that on a monthly basis, we weren't going to be losing money. In order for this business not to lose cash, we had to be at least 12% profitable, because at 12% profitable, if they were hitting targets, they were covering all of their cash needs for financing their equipment, for paying off the premiums for insurance. And so anything that's not represented on your P&L is still getting paid, even if it's not getting recorded as a P&L activity for your profit margins. So just because your profit is positive doesn't mean your cash generation will be. And when you're going through this type of scenario, you want to understand what the cash generation or the cash burn is. But I'll kick it either over to Kirk or AJ, and we can kind of walk through the next step of this case study. AJ, we can't hear you.
You're muted.
There we go. I was saying I said all the best stuff right there, but I'm not going to repeat it. So you have to come back to the next episode. So essentially, we're in a position where they were flying blind, and we use the analogy a lot at All True, flying a plane. Your business is the plane, and you as the business owner, the CEO, you're the pilot, and your data, it helps you understand where you're flying. A pilot can literally be flying in the wrong direction, be flying upside down and not even realize it if they don't have those instruments to tell them where they're flying. And that's why what Tim does is so important, and why it's the first step. We have to get that visibility. The Wymans, they didn't have the visibility. They had incorrect numbers, and they were operating based off those numbers. And like Tim said, when just because you may see profit in your business, it doesn't mean there's actual cash there. It all depends on sales cycle, business cycle. So we addressed all that. But the first place to start for you, and the question I have for you in hearing everything Tim said, is, do you know with certainty, clarity and confidence? Certainty comes from having clarity and having confidence that what you're seeing is correct. Do you have the level of certainty that your business is actually profitable and how profitable it is? If your answer is anything other than an absolute yes, then your business is in trouble. You are on the way to getting off course, and you are likely already off course. So we want to help you correct that. But that's the first thing to understand. If you don't have absolute clarity and confidence in your data and that you are profitable and how profitable, then you are already flying with significant blind spots. So I want to pitch it over to Kirk, because one of the first things that we, like Tim mentioned, is we looked at where can we decrease cost, where our dollars not being spent efficiently. On the marketing side, we identified that. I'll talk about that after Kirk, but I want Kirk to talk about one of the most significant change that we probably made initially in regard to cutting costs.
Yeah, so we actually started with just taking an inventory of our roster. As Tim said, we refer to this as the Jonah journey. So if you're familiar with the proverb in Scripture about Jonah, it talks about having somebody on the boat that doesn't belong on the boat. And so that's where the name for the process goes. But where we start, so think of it in three phases. We score everybody on three different areas of alignment in the business. First off, it's who's going to bail? Bailing water. So these are the individuals that they're effective in their role and they're willing to do whatever it takes in the business for the business to live and reach its vision. The next place we score people is the or. So we've got bail, or are those people that are they have a high belief in the mission and why the organization is in existence and why it needs to be successful. And these are people that are willing to pick up the oar and paddle as hard and as fast as they need to in order to get to the destination given direction. And then you have core. So bail, or, and core. Core values, these are people that they're aligned to your business, they're aligned to the core values. So those behaviors that we set out to identify as the ones needed to be successful in your business. So we want to assess them in all three areas, and we score them 1 through 9 on all three of these areas. And what we did with this client was we actually took all of their leadership team, so 4 different individuals, gave them all a journey, gave them the roster, and asked them to rate independently what those people needed to be scored in those 3 areas, 1 through 9. The surprising thing is that they were oddly aligned but not the same. And what this does as a decision-making mechanism is we didn't immediately say, okay, these individuals scored low on this, so they're automatically gone. What we did was we started to have that conversation prior to needing to make the decision. And so once the decision needed to be made, we had gotten the data from Tim's side on the finance side. And so with data, we were able to remove the level of emotion or attachment to how we felt about these people. And it simply became, we've identified the roster, we've ranked the roster, and now we know who is and who needs to be off the boat or on the boat. And so it became a very data driven decision, and it can be difficult. These are real people, real livelihoods, real families that are affected. But the more that we can remove that emotional attachment because our heart is filled with lies, the more we can let the data speak to us and allow ourselves to make those decisions, removed from the feelings that maybe we have of a memory that we've had with this team member, or maybe the things that we know subjectively about them. If we can let the data dictate those decisions before we allow our emotions to well up, it makes leadership shine through in a way that a lot of times we don't typically see. And this particular client had allowed their own feelings to drive a lot of their decisions, to hang on to people that were dragging them into storms, that were putting them in their business in positions that were not going to allow them to get to the destination. So once we had made those decisions, identified those people that ranked low on their willingness to bail water, pick up an oar, or display the behaviors necessary to be successful in this mission together. It made those decisions very transparent, and we were able to move very quickly once the data told us that we needed to pull those levers.
So the question that you should be asking yourself, and that you may be asking, is, should I make decisions based on data, or should I make decisions emotionally? And the answer is yes. Yes to both. But it's understanding where emotion and data meet in the middle, so you make not only a financial decision, an operational decision that is not driven by the emotion, but also you care about people. Ideally, if you don't care about people, then get off this call. You don't belong here. We're not here for you. But if you care about people, then emotion is a part of it. You should feel that decision and feel the impact of that. But what happens for most business owners is, if you don't have visibility on the actual data, you don't have someone like Kirk that knows the exercise to really how to strategically rank people and evaluate everyone on your team, the only thing you're left with is, well, I did it because that's what I felt was right. That's what it felt out. I'm going to use this a real simple illustration. Imagine you are, we've all done this at one time or another. You wake up in the middle of the night, you got to go to the restroom, you've got to get a drink of water, the house is dark, you don't want to flip the lights on because you get that thing where it's real bright in your eyes, you don't want that. So you leave the lights off and you're trying to walk through your house. You've got kids, you got corners of walls, you hit a corner of a wall, stub a toe, say a few colorful words, step on a Lego, reevaluate if you should have ever had kids. All these things happen because you're trying to feel around in the dark. Many of you are running your business this way. You are feeling around in the dark because you don't have the lights on, being the data, so you can't make the best decision. And so what happens is either your logic takes over, we need to save money, fire all these people, cut marketing, do all these things, and you make drastic data-driven decisions that are not truly data-driven. They're still emotional decisions based on the limited data you have. Or you make very emotional decisions, completely ignoring the data, and you end up keeping people too long, keeping them in a seat where they don't belong, and not doing what's best ultimately for your people and for the health of your business. So it's either way, you end up making an emotional decision. Emotion, data have to work together because every decision is emotional. Logic then steps in to validate or invalidate that decision, and the logic comes from the data. So those are the strategic steps we took. Now I'll talk about the marketing and sales side. When I looked at the marketing data, I looked at the ads that were running, I looked at the overall performance. What I saw was that the performance wasn't optimal, but also wasn't clear. The reporting on the data from the agency they were using wasn't clear. It wasn't comprehensive. It didn't provide much clarity around what was actually happening, where to pivot. The communication was okay, but there were just pieces that were missing. And when I'm looking at marketing and sales, and our team is looking at a business, we're looking long term. How scalable are the current processes? Can we keep them, and can they get us to the next year, the next 6 months, or do we need to redesign the infrastructure, tear it down, and rebuild it because this isn't sustainable? You can duct tape things together to a certain degree, but at some point you have to cut something out and put something new in. Well, I made the recommendation to our client, let's fire this agency and have our team take over. We had our team take over, and at the time they were averaging $1,100 a ticket. And if you're in a lot of the trades or plumbing or landscaping where you're doing individual jobs, you track your average, you should be tracking your average per job. Theirs was about $1,100. Since then, we've gotten them to where it's averaging closer to $1,700, $1,800. That means more profit for the same amount of effort. We've actually also been able to increase their marketing budget significantly because now it's performing better and we're tracking all the data. So we were able to lower their lead costs, generate more leads, generate higher quality leads. They've gotten multiple 5-figure projects on the commercial side from leads that were generated for $30 from marketing. They've gotten opportunities from having the right strategies in place. So what do we do on the marketing side? We replace their agency with one that we know performs really well, which is very data driven, provides great reporting, which was be our team, which is why we have that team. Sometimes we will work with an agency that the client already has if they're performing well. We don't always replace it. That's another key thing to remember, is it's not always about replacing a person, an agency, a process. Sometimes it's just improving how you're utilizing that. In this case, we replaced it. We improved the messaging. We improved the overall strategy. Here's where most business owners get this wrong when it comes to marketing. I want to ask you, if you're watching on YouTube, for those of you who are live, drop in the chat just one word, one or two words. What is marketing? This is where we would cue the Jeopardy music. Okay, so relationships. A lot of people would say paid ads, brand, content. So let me give you a quick breakdown. There are different facets of marketing. I've given this illustration before. Let's say you're trying to sell an elephant, just because it'd be something easy to remember. You're trying to sell an elephant. If you wash the elephant off, you give it a nice bath, you put a nice rug or whatever over it, you shine its tusks, you make it smell great. That's branding, presenting it really well so it's memorable. If you then make posters that say uh, elephant 50% off, that's advertising, and you post them everywhere. That's advertising and promotion. If you then go and approach the local media and with a story angle of how the elephant is visiting orphanages and just creating a great experience for the children, that is publicity and public relations. Marketing, or and then sales. The sales would be when you're actually pitching people on, hey, pay for a ride on the elephant, pay for a picture, buy the elephant. That's sales. Marketing is everything of the strategy to tie all of that together. That's what marketing is. Marketing isn't paid ads. Marketing isn't content. Marketing is the overall strategy that ties all of those tactics together. So with that understanding, we went to our client and I redesigned their marketing strategy. We're going to run these ads on these platforms in this sequence for this period of time when we hit this milestone, which for them was once we stabilize and we have consistent lead flow, we're generating more revenue that is more profitable. Then we free up more budget. We have cash in the bank. So working with finance, then we will add to the budget. And now we're looking to add more to the budget, and we're considering other tactics of local media and various things. We had to get solid on the base and make sure the infrastructure was there. So things like tracking. Many of you are in the trades, you use platforms like Jobber or Service Titan. We had to make sure those are connected to track the proper data. Make sure that we had trained up the team on how to look at the data and understand how to make strategic decisions. Improving how we were utilizing certain accolades and advantages we had. They have over 1,300, closing in on 1,500 5-star reviews. They are a 5.0 on Google with over 1,300 reviews, which is insane. They're the only client I've ever seen with that many and still a 5-star, which says a lot about the service they deliver. We have a whole new content strategy to support when someone sees an ad and then goes to social media and looks at content. So all of these things are in place, but it all started with look at the financial strategy, free up cash flow, cash flow by decreasing cost, give ourselves some play in the budget to actually put money into marketing, and then improve the marketing that was happening. And as a result, their financial picture has completely changed in the business. I'll kick it over to Tim to just give us a quick overview, 60 seconds. What does the business look like now that we are, at this point, we're about 6 months in? Or actually, no, we are more than 6 months in. We're closing in on a year working with them.
So this client's on pace to likely come close to a double this year. But I think the most significant part, when we started working with them, they had a prospect that was likely to start working with them, a larger project again. They were stepping into commercial. And so part of this turnaround was actually buying the time to survive until these projects kicked off and the cash flow from the projects started to feed the business and refunnel the business. The core of the business is growing. It's growing at about 5%, the residential side of the house. But a lot of the growth that we're seeing right now is from a new revenue stream because we freed up cash to invest into the revenue stream and invest into the relationships that this revenue stream is producing. So if we sign no more commercial deals for the rest of the year, which is likely, we'll probably get 1 or 2 more. We'll have a double this year, but we'll triple our cash position. And it's not enough cash in order to sustain growth for the next year, but it is, this business used to keep $50,000 in cash in the bank, and we're nearly 5xing that amount just because of the understanding of our OpEx. And again, when we think about that, we also think about what are our distributions. These owners are going to be taking distributions for the first time above their W-2 earnings for the first time in 2 or 3 years. We're also paying out incentive compensation to the leadership team because of the profit we're seeing in the business. And so they're starting to see consistency in their financials. So it's a phenomenal job. They've put up with a lot. They've gone through a lot of the stress that a consolidation does cause any business to have, where you hamper down and you focus on delivering product while you're looking at, okay, I can't stretch out my costs, so I get to do more with less, which is the theme of a consolidation period. And now we're going through an expansion period where we start adding to the team in the form of additional roles, more techs, more equipment. So now we're buying equipment every month again. Back to you, AJ.
So complete turnaround. And to give some additional context from the past, they finished 2023 around 2.3 million. They were on track to, well, really in 2024, it wasn't looking great. But they're amazing people, amazing owners. They really leaned in, didn't give up, stuck it through, made the really hard decisions, and took our guidance and advice and implemented everything and did it phenomenally well with no resistance at all. They finished 2024 at 3.1, and now they're on track, like Tim said, to have a double this year and finish 2025 at somewhere around just below or above 6 million, which will be, not only did they have their best year ever last year, but they're on track to have their best year ever this year and just continue growing from there. And the team's extremely excited. They have amazing people on the team. So what I hope you're hearing from this is not just Ultra did all these amazing things. It's a collaborative effort. When we work with the client, we are partnering with them to identify what key moves need to be made, and it's strategic. It's not one thing. And this is where so much of the content that you watch online is, well, if you do this one thing, your entire business will change. It's never one thing. And we're breaking all the rules with how you create content, and we're not doing the clickbaity titles and then giving you one simple thing. We're telling you, here's the reality. If you want to transform your business, you can 100x, 50x your profit in 90 days. If you are generating revenue and you identify the problems, you can make dramatic changes. This is just one example of the changes that can be made in your business. But it starts with, to recap the steps we took, look at the financials, understand the story that your financials are telling. If you are not tracking it properly, you don't have the visibility, so you won't have clarity, you won't have confidence in your numbers, even if you can see them. You have to have competent people who can interpret those numbers for you and with you. This may be your bookkeeper or CPA, and I know Tim would agree. We've had the conversations with so many clients. Often, as a business owner, you're relying on your CPA for things they don't do. And I'll let Tim speak to this. What should Tim really the job of a CPA be? What should the expectations be? Because often we see that business owners are relying on the CPA for things that the CPA either can't do or just isn't doing.
I mean, it depends. That's a loaded question. Your CPA and the definition of the license is providing you with financial statements that have attestations, basically saying, I certify that these financials are accurate. They also do provide tax work, but an EA could also do that. So most cases, in my experience, the CPA does tax and accounting, basically preparing the accounting records for the tax filing with the IRS. In most of the situations where we have disagreements with accounting firms, it's really because the are preparing the taxes or preparing the accounting records for tax preparation and not for business decisions. And they need to be represented very differently, because your tax preparation, they look at the data and make sure that the 12 months look accurate and factual. When you're making business decisions, you want to be making business decisions more in line with your business cycle And that might be on a weekly basis, it might be on a monthly basis. But your CPA really cares about, did it get recorded in the 12-month span before I file taxes? If that's good, I can smooth it out on a 12-month cycle. Whereas you as the business owner want to be looking at the financial data and the operational data on a more frequent basis. And because of that, you need to make sure that the financials and the operational data tie more closely and not worry so much about the 12-month span, because if your 12-month picture on a monthly basis is accurate, your 12-month picture will also look accurate. AJ, does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, that answers the question. So you, for all of you who are business owners, you're great at the thing that you sell: paving, landscaping, plumbing, roofing, whatever that is. To grow a massively profitable and successful business that like the Wymans now, you're no longer working just for it. It's starting to work for you. It's starting to give you leverage to expand and make investments outside of outside of the business itself, where you really start building wealth. To do that, you've got to get the knowledge that you don't currently have. Either you spend the years to learn it, or you work with people who already have it. So I want to invite you guys, if you haven't engaged with us, drop a comment. Zach's on here, and just book a scaling strategy call where we'll jump in. We'll look at the top 3 objectives in your business, top 3 challenges, and essentially do a quick audit like we did for the Wymans. And we can get a lot done in half an hour, 45 minutes, asking the questions to understand where your business is at and give you direction on that. So appreciate you guys. Those of you who are watching live, if you want to attend the Zoom call and be able to answer questions, then make sure that you go to the description in this video, you register on businessbuildersweekly.com. That way you can get on the list and get the notifications you'll get a text message before the call. You'll get communication to make sure that you don't miss the live Zoom call, because we typically go live on Zoom about 10-15 minutes before we go live on all the platforms. And then additionally, we're launching a brand new community for all of those you who attend Business Builders. I'm so excited about it, I can't even talk right now. We're launching a new community for all of you who attend Business Builders, where we're taking this kind of training and we've actually structured it into an actual program that we could launch for $3,000-$5,000 based on the impact we've seen it create, but we're putting it in there at no cost for the first 100 members in the community, lifetime. So if you want to find out about that, drop a comment and just comment build. If you are here on Zoom, or if you're on any other platform, just comment build, and then Zach from our team will reach out to you with the info to get you connected so you can get into the free community. There's no cost. We're building a community of business owners, because part of our mission at All True in just 2025 is to impact 10,000 business owners, but also it's to flip the business consulting world on its head by giving more value in free content and actual business advice from people who are actually doing it with real business owners in real time, not from selling a business for a lot of money or having worked in corporate America. All we know is scaling businesses, and that's what we've done for 10 plus years. So drop a comment, build, and then we'll reach out to you. We'll get you access to the free community that's opening up next week, and you'll get access to that training. You get access to the 90-day cash accelerator program that's in there, and all the other training, plus exclusive access to content and resources from us here at All True. So we appreciate you guys. We will see you on the next episode of Business Builders.